Today, I would like to direct a question to the lonely men who are out there, those who want to find a life partner but find that they cannot because of one reason or another. And I'm not going to go into the reasons here. I think you can go ample places online and see the reasons why current trends are making it so that the lonely man is predominating to a greater extent now than even in the recent past. But that's not what this is about. Okay, I'm not about tracing how we got here. I'm wanting to ask a question, and it's a rhetorical question, but it's still a question that I guess in a way it's a rhetorical question, and in a way it's an actual question, because it's rhetorical in the sense that it opens up a conversation, and it's also a real question because I'm sincerely interested in how anybody would answer this. So here it is. If you found that you could be with someone, but it became clear to you at some point along the way that this person was settling for you, that this person didn't really want you, didn't really love you, but was was figuring. Well, maybe it could be one of two things. Either, I feel sorry for this guy. He's a nice guy. I'll be with him for a time, just to so that he won't be lonely anymore. In that case, it's like more like a fling than anything that has that is redolent of permanence. But in any case, for a period of time, you wouldn't be lonely in that kind of circumstance. So somebody who's with you because they feel sorry for you, or on the other hand, somebody who's with you just because they've decided, look, I'm at that age, I want kids, he's good enough, he's the best I can do, so I'm going to settle for him. If either of those or any other reason any other reason besides that this person is gaga nuts, banana pants crazy about you, are you happy with that situation? Is it good enough for you to be with somebody who if they had their druthers, wouldn't be with you, but who has decided, for a period, whether it's for a short span of time or a longer span of time, or maybe even an ostensibly permanent relationship, which is what marriage is supposed to be. Not often what it truly is, but what it is supposed to be. Would you be okay with that? Would that be good enough for you? What makes this an interesting question for me is we live in a time when monogamy is crumbling. And as you should know if you know me, I am very pro-monogamy. I am a monogamist. I'm a believer in monogamy, and not just serial monogamy, but I think that the ideal situation is a culture in which you are paired with one person, and you're with that person for both of your lifetimes. And I think that is the best. That having a culture that encourages monogamy is the best, the most humane, and the most healthy, both from a spiritual and a sociological perspective. Spiritual in the sense that I believe monogamy is better for the soul. Sociologically, because I believe that if you are in the midst of a culture where people are constantly marrying and divorcing and remarrying, or never marrying, and all kinds of things. We're having all these kinds of exotic setups, polyamory and whatnot. This is creating chaos, and it's creating chaos not just for the adults, but more importantly for the children, who are the results of these couplings and who are not growing up with any kind of stability. So when we lived at a time when monogamy was encouraged, we were restrained from exercising our, you could call it natural, but I would call it more, sub-level, subhuman, animalistic urges or drives. If things are just left to the law of the jungle, then what do you have? You have the most powerful, most desirable men assembling harems, taking most of the women, and you have tons and tons of lower status men who are totally left out of the notion of being anything but lonely. Now, that may be natural in a sense, as far as being the law of the jungle, but it's an extremely volatile cultural situation. And this is why monogamy was created, or was came to be recommended, came to be seen as the way to go. I'm making a complex subject simple here. Of course, there are other reasons why people chose monogamy, involving religious dogma and so forth. But I would argue that even excluding religion, even if it's part of your faith, says one man, one woman. That's what marriage is. Even if it's not a part of your faith, even if you're not really an adherent to any faith, nevertheless, this is the setup that is most conducive to a healthy society, and to the promotion of a wholesome culture, and to minimizing stress and trauma. It's not perfect, don't get me wrong, but it's the best of all possible options as far as these things go. So we had to train ourselves to be that way, or we had to be trained. We had to be trained by society back when society, and it wasn't so bad to conform to society when society was much healthier than it is today. Today, society being shitty, you don't want to be trained or formed by it. You want to escape it. It's healthier to escape it, but there was a time when it was good to be molded and formed by society, because that was a time when society itself was much healthier than it is today. So during this time period, we learned to put away this, what could be called our more natural urges, i.e. the law of the jungle, and opted for the law of man, or the law of God, or the law of reason, and that was what helped put into place the system of pairing known as monogamy. So when monogamy was the predominant idea, when it was be monogamous, get married to one man or one woman, or else incur some kind of social penalty, or else be looked down upon as a tramp or a homewrecker or a cad, those kinds of things, and suffer the social penalties that came with it. People were more conditioned to do what was good, which is to want to be with one person, and to want to love that person and take care of that person, and and make that relationship last. Get through the tough times together. That we were conditioned to want to do that, because of course every marriage has its struggles, but you still stuck with it because if you didn't stick with it, you incurred social penalties. If if you were somebody for whom that mattered, and that matters to a degree to a lot of us. More, we are social beings, whether we like to acknowledge it or not. And I don't like to acknowledge it myself because I'm very much a lone wolf type of guy. But it is true. But beyond that, we stuck with monogamy because we believed that being monogamous was the right thing to do. And we wanted to be a good husband. We wanted to be a good wife. We wanted to be a good father or mother and keep our families together for the sake of ourselves, for the sake of our spouse, and for the sake of our children. So, as you all know, over the last 50 or 60 years, all of that has fallen totally to pieces. And now we are in complete chaos. There are pockets of reason and order within the chaos. Don't get me wrong. There are still people who live wholesome lives and who have wholesome marriages and raise their kids with stability. But unfortunately, I believe those are more the exception than the norm these days. And I believe this has happened by design. But that's another story, too. I don't want to go onto that tangent either. Since this is the way things are right now, unfortunately, young women are more inclined to follow their baser instincts, which is to want to gravitate to exclusively to the men of high status, the best looking, the richest, the ones who have accumulated the most status to themselves for one reason or another. So in a situation like this, in a culture like this, I'm not saying you can't find a woman who wants to be monogamous with you and who wants to love you for who you are and can fall in love with you for who you are and who will stay with you for who you are and not just be with you for ulterior motives or because, they feel sorry for you or they pity you and they feel sorry for you, so they're sort of treating it as being charitable to be with you for a certain length of time. You would think that in that case they would maybe just sleep with you, or maybe stay with you for a couple weeks or whatever. But also women who marry down in their minds. They're marrying down. They are instantly, resentful of this because they've been trained to believe they deserve the best, and they're marrying somebody who they think is beneath them, which is not a recipe for happiness. So my question again for lonely guys, I think I asked this before, but it's one I really think is that I want to repeat because I think it's an interesting one and a worthwhile one to ask is, would you settle for being with someone if you knew, even if you knew that she was not with you because she loved you? If you knew that she was with you because she was settling for you, would you still say yes to such a setup because it would be better than nothing? Or would you say no? I don't want to be in that kind of situation or scenario. I'll hold out till there's someone who wants to love me for who I am, even if I'm not, the top 5% on the social status configuration or whatever. Would you hold out knowing that there's a possibility that you could just be alone for a long time, if not for the rest of your life? Would you opt in that kind of situation to be with somebody who is not with you for the right reasons? And I'm also wondering now how often that happens. Like maybe that's also maybe if you have a story like that to tell, girl X decided to be with me, even though she thought she was better than me, and she thought I was beneath her station. you know, and who knows, maybe if there's some honest women out there who want to say, I admit I was with man X even though I thought I deserved better. And I feel sorry. I feel sorry about that now. Or you could say, or maybe you would say, I don't feel sorry because at least I gave him some happiness for a time and made him feel less lonely. And whatever. That's my question. Anybody out there, please feel free to respond because I'm really interested in hearing your answers and your stories if you have them. Thank you for watching.